It's Edge Radio Australia. Time for the one thing. And look at the crew that we have in this room today. My word. My word.
Hey, you're surrounded by beauty again.
I am literally, I am the thorn between all of these roses. I really am.
And I want to say welcome back to Leanne.
Yes,
thank you.
Absolutely.
We know who the noisy one is now.
I'll tell you right now.
Never me. That's
Neighbours
Travis.
are already complaining. Put it that way. I'm telling
That
you
was
right
Travis. He's just left the building.
now. What a relief that is. Oh, we love him. I do love Travis, much like, you know, we have a relationship like Rain Man. And that's really pretty much what it's like. But anyway, let's jump into the show. Lisa, would you like to talk about our wonderful guest today?
Guess what? I'm going to do it.
I'm actually going to handball it over to Leanne because it's Leanne's wonderful
It is
guest
my
today.
wonderful guest today.
Well,
this is
so
my
rude.
wonderful
Look at
guest. So,
And your
I've
enemies.
known this beautiful lady for a few years now. We met through a mutual company called 𝐴SEA.
Yep.
And her name is Monique. She is absolutely an amazing person, as well as the founder, of 𝐴SEA Baby. And 𝐴SEA Baby is a business dedicated to supporting parents in creating healthy sleep habits for their little ones and nurturing strong, secure bonds between babies and parents.
Okay.
And she
Good
is
stuff.
going to be talking a lot about attachment parenting today with us.
Yes, I can't wait.
So thank you for joining me, Monique, and I appreciate you coming in tonight.
Monique has joined us as well, just so you realise. Not just the two of you. Okay.
Okay.
I think this is our cue. We'll
And
just
hang on a minute.
Well, see you next week. Clearly, we're not needed.
And
Okay.
helping me host today is my good friend and co-host, Lisa
Welcome to the Leanne
Byfield.
No.
And I've been away.
And we love you.
I
We
need the
miss you.
attention.
She's got a bit rusty.
Great
I need
to
the
see you
attention.
back.
And, of course, Aaron Malloy, Edge Radio Australia.
Love being here. All righty, let's jump right into it because I am so interested in this subject. And I think, and I hope not, but we may even butt heads a little bit.
Oh,
I
that's
can-
going to be
I
good.
can
And you're
feel
both
some
sitting in the hot
controversy.
seat.
Come on.
Baby is in the hot seat.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Oh, you're going to have
I'm
conversations.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, okay, we'll see how we go.
Okay.
I joke about it. I mean, the fact of the matter is you have conversations because you need to hear different opinions. You know, it's so important to do that. You don't grow as a person if you just live in a bubble. So
Yes, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
So, Monique, tell me, you were a midwife,
yes.
correct?
Yes.
And so what brought about the change to becoming a sleep consultant and, dealing with parents who have got problems with their children?
Yeah. Well, at the time, I thought midwifery was my calling, and I was really delighted. But I actually hated shift work.
Fair enough.
I couldn't stand
relate
it.
to that. I can so relate.
And so I looked around. I've always been focused on kids and families and babies, and always wanted to work in that area. So I looked around to see what I could work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And it was community nursing and specifically maternal and child health family nursing.
That's beautiful. Wonderful. So how long has 𝐴SEA Baby been around?
Yeah, so first of all, I was in the government role position for a good 17 years. I was getting really frustrated with that role because it was getting more and more restricted with what
government's
we could
so easy to deal with. I don't know why we'd say shit. What a silly thing to say. No.
You agree on that, both of you.
Wow.
Oh, there we go. And I love my role so much. I decided I was turning 50, and I thought I don't want to be here when I'm 60 and going, I wonder if I could have done that.
Yeah.
So I basically decided to go out on my own. I'm the first private child health nurse in WA.
Oh.
I don't know if there's others in other states, but here I am.
So what does that mean?
It means
private?
Private just means that I visit the parents in their homes rather than then coming to a government clinic.
Okay, so when somebody has a baby, they would generally have somebody sent out from the hospital.
Exactly.
And so how would people find out about you then, Monique, if you're private?
So it's word of mouth, or be it following my Instagram and Facebook and the social media. But it is mainly word of mouth, and then they would just directly call me or book online and get me to come out to
So
their
do they,
home.
and they pay you privately?
They do,
So do they get any
yes.
rebates for that?
Unfortunately, not at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm working on that because I really would like a provider number so that I can get to access and see as many parents as I can. Because obviously that's a hardship for a lot of families.
Oh, no doubt about it, yeah.
Finances.
Yeah, because generally speaking, it's going to be the ones that can afford to actually
Yes.
pay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Because
So,
the public system, and I don't want to sit here and bash, because there's so many wonderful people who work really hard in it. But yeah, your hands are so tied.
Yep.
I've dealt with, is it Nagala?
Yeah, that is terrible. That is terrible. I've dealt with them as well.
Yes.
Wow.
Awful.
And so I've got something
Sorry.
to say here.
Yeah.
Nagala now is the only residential place where parents can go
Right.
for sleep help in the state now
No
because
way.
Glengarry's just been closed.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
So it's
that's
really
sad.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Mm.
And my program that I do is so much more gentler than Nagala, and Nagala's really been stuck in their way for many years.
Well,
Okay.
I went to Nagala when my youngest when that was 27 years ago, and they told me I didn't know how to parent, and I said, but I've already had one. I know what I'm doing. Why is this child not sleeping?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? We had so many issues. He didn't sleep through the night till he was 5 years
I
old.
tended to notice it was a habit. Certainly in my experience of it was very much a pointing at the parent, right?
Oh yeah.
It was very much that kind of going on. Not, hey, let's look at the child's diet. Let's look at other factors. Let's look at what's going on.
Yes.
I mean, with my my eldest son, okay, my firstborn, the poor little guy struggled and struggled and struggled to sleep for months. Absolute nightmare. Couldn't get more than 3 hours sleep. Long version is there. Well, we'll give you the short version because otherwise I won't find it.
Yes, a very
We'll be
short-
here all
Yeah.
night.
Get comfy, everyone. Right? No, what it ended up being is he was lactose intolerant.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
And through the breast milk was coming the coffee and all that sort of thing. And this poor little guy, anyway, instantly onto the formula, onto the whatever the brand was, it was lactose free. And I had this baby who went from 3 hours to 8 hours immediately.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't poor parenting. It wasn't, the fact that it was our first crack at it or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was our practice kid, make no mistake about it. But it wasn't any of that. It was the fact that the poor kid had terrible stomach aches and we couldn't cure them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to. It's great to talk about this, and it's great to talk to other people and experts in the field because it's not always environmental. It might be food. It might be
it's
this.
not a one size fits all either.
No, and that's what they tend to box them into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then also the issue now is that social media is so available to everyone that people or new parents just Google and they're getting all this information that is often conflicting, but then they'll go and they'll self-diagnose
big
and they
time.
will go like, oh, okay, so it could be lactose intolerant or it could be, celiac or whatever. So I'm going to take this out of my diet. I'm going to take that out of my diet. Next thing you know, the mum's not eating anything.
That's right.
And then the baby's not getting the nutrients that it should be
Yeah,
getting through the
poor
breast
thing.
milk and everything. And it's not necessarily helping the situation,
No.
but they're hanging on to something.
You end up making two sick people rather than one.
exactly.
Yeah. Monique has a really good following on Instagram on Thursdays in particular because it's breastfeeding Thursday. So she has some really good hints and tips for breastfeeding. And I wish this would have been around when I was young.
Okay.
I reckon it would have been really helpful.
Yes.
So you do a really good job
Yes.
on that, Monique.
Yeah,
And I
thank
think,
you.
Oh, look,
thank you.
I mean, I remember being, exposed for the very first time to cabbage leaves. Okay?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The old cabbage
Right,
leaves, I had them
right,
as
now,
well.
okay, Yeah. As a bloke,
Amazing.
cabbage leaves is kind of like all of a sudden you become a cabbage patch kid, right? It's such a thing that, it's such an important part of it all.
But you know
And I
what?
didn't know.
But you know
Why
what,
don't I
though?
know?
Cabbages
It
such
was-
an important part.
It
Well,
was-
apparently they are.
Yeah, well, they are.
Yeah.
I love my cabbages, and every time they got too warm, I put a nice,
Yes.
some nice cold ones on.
So that's where the research came in. It actually has no beneficial properties whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Is
No,
that right?
But
it's
the coolness?
just the fact that it was
Cool.
cool
And the
it was
right
perfect
size.
shape,
Oh.
and you just cut out the core of the leaf and
Yeah.
it would wrap
Yeah.
around, exposing the nipple so you could let the nipple to dry and air and heal.
Gotcha.
But everything else would be covered and soothing. And like you said, exactly, Lisa, that the moment it got warmed up and limp, you just
Yeah.
change it for another
Yeah.
one. And you'd have a
Yes.
And
stack in
cabbages
the
were cheap back then.
Oh, yeah. And almost
Back then, yeah.
back then.
That's why I
Now
said days
like,
back
do
then.
we eat tonight or do you know?
Well, why not do both?
Very good point, right?
Make
Sauerkraut.
Put them on and then
Anyone?
mate.
You cover all the cup sizes, you get it all stuff. Oh, it might not be cabbage, but right now, for some
about you
strange
could
reason,
roll it up
I
and
feel
be
like
nice?
10
Are
jump
you
out.
going red? Are you going red,
Oh,
Aaron?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
Oh, he's
no.
quite excited.
No.
Look, boobs got me through high school, right?
Yeah.
So they're the two most wonderful things in the world. Dimples. Yeah.
Can
I
I
love it.
just ask,
Yeah.
because I'm always fascinated to know how somebody got their business name. Why Baba Baby?
I'm so glad you asked me that question because it's quite unique. So at the time, my daughters were late primary school and first year high school, and they had friends over, and we all were sitting around having their dinner. And I'm like, okay, girls, we've got to brainstorm here. I need to find a business name. And one of my youngest daughter's friend, 𝐊𝐞𝐲 actually suggested, like, what about Baba Baby? Because it's actually like Baba, and she even came up with Baba Baby, does your baby sleep?
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it.
Is this
Nailed
woman
it.
now in marketing? Come on. Right?
That was it.
Yeah, that was
So no
it.
discussion. That was it. Just
Love
came-
it.
Just
That
came
was
to you.
it. Yeah,
Natural.
it just
Fantastic.
fitted perfectly.
Yeah, and it's fun to say.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Baba
Makes it a little bit
Baby.
cooler.
Yeah.
Now I had never heard of attachment parenting.
Mm.
It was never a thing in my day. Was it a thing for you, Lisa?
Well, when you were telling me about Monique coming on to the show, and we had the title Attachment Parenting, I wondered to myself whether this was something that was you were going, is it pro or a con? Like I thought,
Right.
this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Attachment parenting, is this something she's saying
Right.
is good
Yes.
or not good? So I'm
Yeah,
really
right.
interested. No, I haven't.
Yes.
I hadn't heard of
Yeah.
it.
So what is it? And tell us a little bit about
It is a
that.
new term, and it's probably come into vogue very specifically in the last last 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
Purely because parents are looking for something else that's not authoritarian parenting, but also in vogue at the moment is conscious parenting. But attachment parenting is looking more at the emotional development of the brain of the baby and the autonomic nervous system connecting with the parents, and the baby ultimately receiving trust and guidance and support from the parents. So it is being a responsive parent is attachment parenting. Conscious parenting has got the sort of negative connotations now that there's no boundaries or consistency in place with conscious parenting, and the kid can run amok and do whatever they like, and the parents aren't going to say anything.
Be frank,
But it's
right?
different.
Like Generation Z, I think we're at the moment, okay? Pretty bloody useless, okay? They really are. I mean, what can we do with them? Honestly, what can we do with them, okay?
Here we go.
Like use them in window displays. I don't know, right? Because
Can you just wind back a bit,
okay, I'll
Aaron?
tell you what, okay, because right
wind
now-
back.
Con-
What
the
generation? What
What sort of
generation is he
age
talking
are we
about?
talking
C or something, I don't
the
know.
chil-
Generation C.
the kids who are now in their 20s have been parented by parents who want to be their friend, not their parent.
Yes.
Okay. There has been no consequences to any of their actions. It's all
My children are in their 20s.
So am I.
And
Aaron,
Yeah.
he's opened up a big can of
For
worms.
participation.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
gets a prize.
Yeah, everyone gets a prize.
And my
No,
children will
no,
tell you the
no.
exact
You know what?
opposite of that.
Life's tough, wear a helmet, okay? There's no participation awards. If I was crap at something in sports or whatever, guess what I had to do? I had to try harder. I had to work.
Oh, you just don't participate in.
But that's not the way to go either.
Yeah, well, some kids just don't run. Some
But I'm
kids
not
are.
saying, but
Yes.
every kid doesn't have to be a runner. Do you think this was designed for running? No.
Possibly when you were younger.
Yeah, a bit. Everything was down there was up there, but never mind. Gravity's been a bit unkind.
I've seen some photos.
Yeah,
right?
things have changed a bit.
Did you hear him? Gravity's been unkind.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
Welcome to my shoes.
I
anyway.
love kids. Kids are, to me, the absolute centre of the universe. They really are. But I
Just not the useless ones that need to be window dressing.
Need to be mannequins.
I might have been a little dramatic for fun.
Make that up.
Okay, but I'll tell you right now, honestly, no, we have a generation where, okay, we need a safe space. We need this. No, we don't. We absolutely don't need any of those things. That's absolute rubbish, right? Okay, I don't want kids who have gone through lives of beltings or anything like that. None of that. No way at all, right? But kids need consequences. No.
Yes, they do.
Well, look, I think about myself as a child, right? Okay, and I think, and I'll bring some comments up in a moment, because as a
They're
child,
just laughing at you, Aaron. The
right,
comments.
if I was a child in today's world, right, they would have had me full of ADHD drugs and this and that, and they would be, oh, you know, he's a problem child, right? Yeah, well, maybe I was just fun. Okay, maybe I was adventurous.
You were lots of fun, apparently.
No, I look back and I think about my parents, and I think they are unbelievable. Like, you know, how did they hold it together? Because I would have been a very, very tough kid to parent, right? But I did know there was consequences, right?
Okay,
now, so a kid like me comes along in today's world, right? They teach them no consequences whatsoever, and everything they do is okay, and they'll get a participation award for it. You know, yay team, right?
What has this got to do with attachment parenting?
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's a style of parenting. It's
I'm just wondering how long it's going to take.
Councillor Monique, we're just sitting in the
Well, no, I'm saying this because I love kids, and I think
we don't want to have to invite her back. She didn't get to tell us.
I know.
I think I should be quiet. No, just I really want new ideas. I want new techniques. I want things that are going to work. But I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. There are some things that back in the day worked a treat, and we need to bring them back. And this whole idea of just wrapping children in cotton wool, I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
All right, we have you here every week. I'd like to hear from our guest if that's okay.
So
what can you tell us about attachment parenting?
Yeah, so there's all this recent neuroscience development, brain development research done recently about how the brain develops and how the parent's brain also develops. So when a mum has a baby, the brain, you know how when you go through certain stages in life, the brain is pruned and ready to make new connections and be more intelligent. So that happens to the mum. Okay. So that's why mums will often say, oh, gosh, I've got baby brain, or, you know, I've got breastfeeding brain or whatever it is.
And I maintain that I never got my whole brain back. I still maintain that.
So, but that's not actually correct, because you would have. You've just got new intellect in different areas. And guess what those areas are? About how to look after your child. And so you become more attached, more in tune with your baby. You'd be looking at their body language and being able to see things that you wouldn't have been able to see before. So that's where the new brain comes in. Okay. But also too, the research is showing us that kids actually become more resilient when they're not punished. Punishment ends up being a fear-based situation, and the child will absolutely do what they're told because they are petrified that they're going to be punished in time out or whatever it is. But research shows that works for a short time, but then they rebel when they're older.
So how do you discipline a child then?
Yes, so you discipline a child by basically talking to them and saying, this wasn't what I expected. I wanted more from you. This is what you should have done. And now we're not going to do what we were going to do, the fun activity that we were going to do. We're not going to do that now because you did X, Y, Z. And it might be 10 minutes or 15 minutes or however long you want to make that.
You can't do that with a 3 or 4-year-old.
You can, but you just then say, okay, we've done that now. Now we're going to go and do something fun. So there's still consequences, but it's not punishment. It's not time out. It's not smacking. It's none of those things.
One of the things I found most difficult, so I've got 3 children, one born 96, 98 and 2001. So they're all in their 20s now. And I was not that parent that you described, so I don't know what was my turn. I don't know
personal attack.
I don't know what was going on there. But what I found most challenging, as I'm sure a lot of parents do, is the different approach between me and my husband at the time.
Yes, and that is very difficult.
Very stressful.
You do have to have that conversation between the two of you, because the other thing that happens is that we have an implicit memory of how we were parented as kids. And when we're stressed and we're in that stressed part of our brain because someone's annoyed us and we've got angry and we're lack of sleep and we're tired and we're just like, rah, and you find that you more automatically switch back into the way you were parented because that's what you know, that's been role modeled to you, and that's implicit in your brain. So unless you consciously work at going to parenting courses and things to retrain your brain, to actually do differently, you will end up, and that's when you go, oh my God, I sounded just like my mum. Like, you know, and you go, oh, I never wanted to do that, but that's because that's where you go in an automatic situation.
You were talking.
Sorry, keep going.
No, you go, because just remind me that I was going to ask. Yeah, sorry.
No, you do it because I know what I'm going to ask. Yep, go.
Okay, all right. You hold on to yours.
Yeah, I'm holding on. Look, my finger.
You were talking about the change in the mother's brain. Is there any change in the father's brain?
Yes, there is. Not as dramatic, because the father actually still grows and develops his IQ and brain in an attachment way to the father, because the father is such a big part of that baby's growth and development with their brain. So you know how when dad's parent, they do the rough and tumble play and everything, that's actually really important for a certain part of the baby's brain to grow and develop that part, because the mum's more nurturing and caring.
What about if the father's not actually in the picture as such?
It's really important that they have a strong role male model in that situation. It doesn't have to be the biological father, but as long as it's some father figure.
Okay. And in utero would be important as well?
Absolutely. So they're now actually they're realising now that babies have got memory, cellular memory, right from sometimes conception.
Wow.
It's huge. And so therefore we've got some kids that actually can describe an event that happened to their mum while they were in utero.
Jeez.
Yep. And they're like, that's not possible. You weren't even born then, but they describe the house and the tree and the appointment where the mum went to. And of course, everyone gets just blown away by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much we don't know.
Because a lot of trauma, like from what I've read and seen and heard, is mother has any trauma whilst pregnant, that trauma transfers to baby. Baby gets born, baby is traumatized. It stores cellularly in the baby. So
it is a buzzword, trauma, now, though.
It is.
There's so many.
It is, but
because of all the recent research about it.
Yeah,
that's why, though.
I think so. And I think, look, I sorry boys for all the things that happened when I was pregnant with you both, because I just lived life normally.
Why wouldn't you, though?
You know, I went down speed slides and everything, you know, like, hello.
But you were having a good time, and that
speed slides, you know, those speed slides?
That would have enveloped your baby placenta and utero in positive serotonin and oxytocin and all the good hormones, right? And the other thing I want to say is that parents are really struggling these days with the stress that we do have in our environment in this day and age. And they're actually saying that that's one of the reasons why we're having so many kids diagnosed with ASD these days, or autism spectrum disorder, is because we've got toxins in our environment, we've got toxins in our food, we can't get away from it, and so we're bathing our bodies in toxins, and this is coming through to the developing fetus, and that's why they're saying that our numbers are getting more and more. So unless we really try and pare back our lifestyles and the food that we eat, and try and eat more organically and really just look after our health and get good sleep, then where they reckon that it's going to be 1 in 3 kids in 2060 will have ASD diagnosis.
Wow, that's a real different platform of...
I'd say that's got a lot to do with American research, particularly because there's so many additives in American food. I mean, it's bad in Australia, make no mistake.
It is, really.
Luckily, we're away behind them at the moment, but they've got so much rubbish in their food.
Well, if you're buying packaged foods, I think everyone has it.
Yes.
Every single person, if you're buying a packaged food, if you're buying a packaged food item and you open it up, whether it's plastic particles or toxins or the stuff that they put in there, I think it's all crap. It's all crap.
And it is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, it worries me a great deal, actually, what kids are going through right now. I certainly wouldn't want to be born now. No question about it.
Well, we never thought of that. We thought, okay, we'll give our kids cereals. That's, that's fine. Kids cereal, they can have Wheat-Bix, you know?
Yeah,
because,
I've seen the guy in the ad and they all look healthy, right?
Is it? Okay, thank God Wheat-Bix is good because I gave that to my children. I was like, you look back now at what people are saying about foods and you're like, oh, my God, I gave my kids peanut butter. Oh, my goodness.
Well, but what's wrong with peanut butter? From that point, here's where I'm going to go on this.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a nut food.
The thing that we've been lied to for it's about 90 years now is the food pyramid. Okay, when we were told about
that's bullshit. Yeah,
it's a lie. It's 100% lie. It was made by a marketing company. To sell more grain. It's a lie. You are far better off eating meat,
bacon and eggs in the morning,
and the goodies, and your fat bacon and your fat butter and your fat. Obviously in moderation, all of that, but. We've been fed so many lies, and you're right. We're bathing in
sugars because that's all sugars. Anyway, off the subject. Go.
Something else that's a lie. The SIDS recommendations.
Oh, really?
So the sudden infant death syndrome. What happened back in the day was that it started back in the 50s, right? Because after the World War II, we needed the women back in the workforce to replace the jobs that the men were short on.
There's a lot of missing men,
Exactly. And so the women had to have a good night's sleep. And so this is also too the advent of the sleep specialist with the men in the white coats.
Right.
And who would tell the parents what to do. And they very quickly found that if you slept your baby on their tummies, they would sleep for deeper, they would sleep for longer, and even better if you put your baby in the room where you couldn't hear it if it cried, so you would sleep through until it was really crying, and then you go, oh, the baby's awake. And so that was the start of it. Now, what happened was there was no research into SIDS. So what they've done is they've just gone case study by case study, and they've gone, oh, this baby died for no reason. Well, we can't see any reason, but gee, both parents were smokers. Oh, we'll put smokers on the list. This baby had lots of pillows in its cot. Maybe it suffocated, no pillows. So we've basically been given a set of criteria now to support the SIDS recommendations, but there is actually no research behind it.
So glad you've said this.
Let me tell you, though, obviously the SIDS recommendations have decreased the number of SIDS deaths, absolutely, without a doubt, and it's been very successful as a campaign. But what the damage it did was it made parents guilty for wanting to co-sleep with their babies, and I think that was tragic, really awful, because I remember as a child health nurse saying to the mums in the clinic, well, you might kill your baby if you sleep with it, and I feel dreadful, so bad now for saying that. And the wonderful people at the University of Melbourne have last year found out that the SIDS actually is a what do you call it?
Malnutrition?
No.
She's
when the cells don't combine properly.
Sounds like movie.
2 words.
It'll come to you.
Not
when the cells
a
don't
malnutrition, not a oh my gosh.
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, it happens at conception and it's nobody's fault. That's what I wanted to highlight.
Oh, wow.
So all those parents that have suffered through the awful event of having a SIDS death in the family can go, oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't because I didn't do that and I didn't do this and I didn't do that. It actually
and people live in tremendous guilt.
Yes, absolutely.
And co-sleeping, is it safe?
Yes, it is safe.
People don't ever roll over on their babies?
No. So there is still criteria involved, which we do recommend that people do it safely.
Someone said malabsorption.
No,
not that word. Not that word, Trish.
But very close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
A couple of great comments there, by the way.
Yes. So what we recommend is that if the partner is a really heavy sleeper, then that they don't share the bed with the mum and the baby. But we do recommend that the mum does like what we call a side curl, breast curl, where she's on her side and her hand is out and the baby's here lying next to her. So she's providing a space that the mum has her own bedding and the baby's not involved.
So this could be the mum or the dad, couldn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Or whoever
Yeah.
the main caregiver is.
Yeah.
But normally it's usually for breastfeeding mums that do this because it's easier. So the baby's brain in that situation is getting so much information for the mum from her carbon dioxide breathing, her smell, her heat, her sound of her chest and the heartbeat and all of that closeness, that the baby is just connecting with the mum while they're both sleeping, but it is stimulating the brain. So the brain is actually registering this and waking up more frequently than if the baby was in its own cot. But doesn't wake up the mum. So the research shows that the parents end up getting more sleep, even though the baby has breastfed more frequently overnight. And so
see that my youngest one we pretty much co-slept with him. And when he was a little bit older, and he was in a single bed, he was about 11 months because he was crawling out of the cot. I would sleep with him on that single bed on the side going like this.
I always think of like, you know those little novelty koalas you can get from gift stores with a trap gun arms? So you're stuck on the side of the bed like one of those clip-on koalas. The kid takes all the space.
Well, Richard had to go to work, you see. So you were like, I was like, I can't let him, can't let him keep him awake all the night.
And my youngest did more than co-sleeping, and why I say that is because she was literally like a koala. She would not sleep unless she was just clinging onto me. I mean, I look back now and it was beautiful, but sometimes I couldn't roll over because she was just there,
stuck. So clinging. In that instance, rednose.org is a really good place to go to get safe co-sleeping advice.
There you go, rednose.org.
But in that instance, if you had been given that information, Lisa, then you would have confidently been able to co-sleep and you both would have been relaxed, much more relaxed, and your daughter probably also would have been more relaxed because you were relaxed. Because the moment we find the mums are anxious, even though they're telling themselves that they're not anxious, the babies are picking up on it. Because remember, the babies have got a very primitive brain. So when the baby's born, we call the brain development bottom-up development. So the first thing that develops obviously is the autonomic nervous system, the brain stem that does the breathing and the heart rate and the temperature control, all those things that we have got no control over. And then the next thing to develop and mature is the relationship center, the emotional base of the brain. And that is because if we didn't have that emotional connection with our babies, it would just be too hard, wouldn't it? You just go, you can go over there. I'm not looking after you today because I'm too tired.
And some parents don't have that. Like they don't have that. What's it called when you like your children?
Maternal.
That's it.
Maternal.
Some people aren't maternal and paternal. And I have heard myself saying before, if you weren't maternal, then why would you?
Why'd you have a child?
Why would you? Because it's bloody hard work.
It is, exactly.
Yes.
And often people who are not paternal have their own kid and all of a sudden they look after that child brilliantly because it's theirs and they've got that relationship. And so the moment, going back to the primitive brain, back in the day when we were in caves, they were on the lookout always for threats, and the threat in that instance would be a saber-toothed tiger. And so the moment the mum's anxious, the baby's like, mum's anxious, I need to be on alert. And I'm not going to go to sleep if mum's anxious. I'm going to be crying louder, screaming louder because there's danger.
So that was probably me. Sorry, Aiden. That was my anxiousness.
And I do find that the parents that I home visit who have got anxiety, their sleep journey is much more difficult than the mum who is relaxed and accepts it for what it is and understands that this is just a phase and it does get better.
So attachment parenting is good.
Yes.
So it's not. So attachment parenting isn't something that we consciously do. It's something that happens.
Innate. Yes.
Okay.
It's our unconscious brain, the right side of our brain that is connecting with the baby's unconscious brain, and we're doing that dance together. And it's all by so how do you attach with your baby? Well, you mimic them, so their facial expressions, you're watching them, and if they go like that, you go like that too. Or if they make it like ooh, and you go ooh, and you have a conversation.
You do too.
That is connecting, and that is the relationship. That's the attachment. So the baby grows up knowing I've got trust in my mum and dad. I know that I can trust them no matter what happens, then you're going to have this kid that's going to grow up resilient and be strong in society and do wonders because they know that they've got their parents backing for whatever happens.
Yeah. I love how passionate you are about this. I knew you would be great, and you are.
Have we got any comments we need to pull up?
No, that's all good. Lots of comments on the other streams as well, the ones we can't see, so thank you for those. But I do appreciate the people who are watching and listening. It's fantastic. But the ones we can see are coming up on the screen here. So
it's all good. You still haven't figured out that name of that word, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's all right then. Okay, so when you are seeing parents that have, so they've got a baby and a toddler, and dad's away at work all day, mum's looking after these two kids, toddler's screaming, the baby's upset. How does attachment pairing come into that?
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully the toddler has been given a lot of autonomy and a lot of jobs to do around the house, even as a toddler.
Oh, see that I did something right.
Yeah. Because they need to know that they're needed and they're a part of the family. Okay. So, and the toddler's job is one to be a play expert. So playing is all about their world. And the second thing is power, and they need control over their life. So if they get that good combination, they're pretty happy people. It's always much easier to reason with a toddler than it is with a baby. So if they're both screaming at you, wanting your attention, I always recommend you deal with the toddler first and then you deal with the baby later, because you're most likely going to be having to hold the baby for the next half hour or so, whereas the toddler you could solve within 5 minutes.
I do not negotiate with terrorists.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
So how about attachment parenting as they get older? So you've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yes. Yep.
So how does that work?
Yeah. So one of the big things with attachment parenting is not saying to them, "You'll be fine. You're okay. Oh, that didn't hurt," when they fall over and scrape their knee and they're bawling their eyes out.
I disagree on this one.
Okay, this is good. Because what happens is that in their mind they're going, but I did hurt myself and it is sore and that's why I'm crying, because I'm in pain. So what is mum? There's a disconnect.
You're teaching them not to trust themselves.
Yeah, and then the kid goes, "Oh, I'm obviously not correct here," and so therefore, so what is very paternalistic to say, "You'll be fine, get over it," kind of situation.
Oh, I think that's a bit harsh.
If you validate their feelings instead and say, "It looks like that was sore. Is it sore?" And then you ask them, "Is it sore?" So they can say, "Oh, actually, no, it wasn't that sore," and they just then get on and play.
Okay.
Whereas if you dismiss them and brush them off, they are then feeling like it's unfinished business and mum didn't believe me and now I don't feel good about myself.
And now I've got all this blood everywhere.
Yeah.
I used to say, just spit on it, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
just grow.
Okay. And it's different between having boys and girls, right?
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been a single dad, okay? So I've played and obviously in a family as well. So I've played both sides of this. So I'm very lucky, I guess, and whatever. Very experienced. I also had 4 daughters who were close in age, which is much like being, I don't know, working for the United Nations in the middle of a conflict. It's just full on, right? Whereas, the boys, you can go, you rub some dirt on it.
That's it. Spit on your hand.
What I was going to say about the thing about, you're absolutely right about validating the fact that they've been hurt. But I would go, "Whoa, that's a beauty." Well, and like, so you
making light of it.
You're making light of it. They're enjoying it. Yes. Like as soon as it sounds, they enjoy I don't want them to enjoy pain.
But you know why that works?
Why is that?
Because you're making it fun.
Yeah.
And it's all about fun and it's all about play.
Right.
That's why it worked.
Gotcha. Well, so, I mean, I would think that they definitely felt hurt. They felt that they were, that I was acknowledging their pain. Yeah. But like, come on, let's get on. Yeah.
We've got bigger and better things to do.
Yeah. So exactly that.
Yeah, I can imagine you'd be the big kid.
Oh,
sorry.
Damn straight. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you fell over, did the girls come up to you and go, oh, are you okay, Daddy?
I would play it up to them. Really would.
Daddy needs a cup of
Oh,
tea.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I've got to put my leg up. It's so sore.
That's right.
I think what Monique's talking about is like, what's the matter with you? There's nothing wrong with you. Get up.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
because she's very different.
Yeah, very, very different.
Yeah.
But also because it's ingrained in us, right? The two things that I hate doing when I go to home visits or sleep consultations is one is hearing the parents go, "You're okay," to the baby. "You're okay." The baby's screaming their head off. "You're okay." Well, actually, if you're in the baby's brain, you'll probably see that the baby's not okay.
Yeah.
And they're really struggling with this change of routine that we're now trying to get them to sleep without breastfeeding to sleep or cuddling to sleep or whatever sleep association they've got. But the moment the parents go, "I see you, I can see that you're struggling here, and I hear that this is hard for you," the baby calms down almost automatically. The second thing I hate is when the parents go, "Shh, shh, shh, shh." We've been told to do that, right?
We've done that,
Shh,
though.
shh, 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 patting the baby. Shh, shh, shh.
Yeah, it's a natural
Because
reaction.
if you told me to shh, shh when I'm talking, I will say, "Excuse me." We're shushing them up. We're saying, "Don't cry," but crying is a baby's way of talking, telling us. They're trying to tell us something, how they're feeling, what they're doing. And it's our job to try and listen to work that out. Every cry is not an attachment-seeking cry.
Sure.
A cry can be that they're pissed off with us,
Yeah.
that they want to be in our arms, that they don't want to do this new routine,
That they're wet.
that they're
That
wet,
they're
that
hungry.
they're hot, that their tummy aches, that they fart, all these things.
Modern kids just send you a text.
Yeah.
From their bedroom.
Or down the street.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's acknowledging the baby. The baby's already got their own personality. The baby's their own person. The mum is just the portal for the baby to come through to this new world and have an earthly experience.
Bit more than that. Bit more than that.
But the point is that it's not our job as the parents to put the babies to sleep. It's our job to sit back, to observe, to respect the child and say, "Okay, I can see this. Why we can try this." And you know,
I have a real doozy for you.
Okay.
I came back from Malaysia on a plane
I'm glad you didn't
I'm
swim.
glad. Let's
Where-
go back on a plane.
where I got stuck in this goddamn awful seat. But anyway, where there was there was a mother and father and two older kids, and they had, so in their culture they look after the older kids, and then they had grandmother and grandfather, and they were looking after the twin 1-year-olds, around 1-year-olds, because they weren't really walking, but they were, you know,
And how old were the older ones?
probably maybe
Approximately?
18 months these kids were. The older ones were probably around the age of 7 and 8.
Mhm. Big difference.
And honestly, the whole plane was disrupted for the whole 5.5-hour flight
Oh, my goodness.
because the grandparents actually did nothing for these children. So they obviously look after them. So the grandfather's got one, and he's eating and he's not getting his way, and the grandmother's in the seat in front with the other one, and he's not getting what he wants, and then he starts screaming. The pitch of the squeal was phenomenal.
Yes, because the baby's like, "Hello, look at me."
And then they're like, "Oh yeah," and then they're patting them like this and walking with
Shaking
them, and then they're, oh my goodness, I feel like you needed to go and save these people.
Yes, yes.
Because
Just
they had
calm
no
down,
idea.
everybody.
But what really made me upset was that the parents didn't actually step in, because I think it must have been a cultural thing that the grandparents
okay.
actually, that was their
This is when you
responsibility.
step in and go, "Does this smell like chloroform to you?"
Do you know what I was doing? The grandfather had the child over and one would ask the other one.
Yes.
He would have him like this in the aisle, and he was looking at me, and I'd be going, and then I'd be going like this, because he was not. I mean, we were at our wits' end, and everyone's like. Then he was really, really quiet when someone else told him to, like that. And then afterwards, I'm going, Shh, good boy, like this.
So which kid was the noisy one?
Both of them. One would up the other one up.
Right, the youngest.
Wow.
The two babies, they were
Because
twins.
They were obviously feeding off
They
each
were
other.
feeding off each other. So how do you deal with that in a family?
And if you
when
were on
you've
the
got
plane,
two?
would you have stepped in? Probably.
Would you?
The thing is, it's really difficult because I'm very conscious of the parents and how they're feeling in the moment. So those parents would have been super
Grandparents.
stressed, and grandparents, even though everything was turning to crap for them, they still would have been really stressed out in that situation. And that would be one of the reasons why the kids were arcing up so much, was because there was no security there for them at all, no safety, because everyone was upset and stressed and
they're up in the air. They might have had ear problems as well.
Exactly, that's right.
It's a really
No. On the terminal, it started before they even entered the plane,
okay.
and they were biting and kicking these people, the young children.
There's one of the kids called Trent. It's always Trent.
It's always Trent.
There's always a Trent.
That's my cousin's son. Trent.
Darren or
Sorry,
Trent.
Trent.
Darren or Trent, right?
They were arcing up prior to
Gotcha.
getting on the plane, and then we had it was a flight from and then we had it where we had a issue with the plane, and 3/4 of an hour later we all had to get off the plane, and then they were arcing up again whilst we were waiting for the next 2 hours, and then we had to get back on the plane, and then that was 5.5 hours. I think probably half an hour was quiet, peaceful.
Yep.
But the rest, and when they separated them, one went down one end of the plane, and the other one was at the front of the plane.
But it sounds
So-
like that was an issue that has been started way back
I
in the
think it
family
has,
home.
yeah. So how would you deal with someone if they had twins at 18 months, for instance, right?
Yep.
And they've never had those that connection and boundaries and anything like that. Is that something that you can help people with?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the first instance, I like to keep twins together because they have got a very special bond, and in utero they formed that bond and that memory. And so therefore it's worse if you actually separate them.
Well, they were separated, so by a seat. So they were seats apart.
So they weren't together.
One in front, one in back.
What
So
made them quite stressed, I suppose.
Yeah,
definitely.
They're accustomed to sharing a room. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. But in that situation, it would be all about remembering their emotions and how they're feeling in the moment, and validating them, and giving them all the love and attention that you can to support
So I
them.
probably shouldn't have gone like that.
So
But anyway.
that they knew.
We were desperate. We were desperate.
Take the kids for a walk.
We were desperate. I'm saying we were desperate.
And if
Leanne's going, take the kids for a walk outside.
It was the middle of the night, right? It was the middle of the night.
And an aeroplane.
Exactly.
And if I did approach those parents, I would have initially said something really supportive, like, wow, this is so hard for you, isn't it? So I'm already saying I can see that this is a struggle, and we're not any more superior than what you are. We would do the same thing in your situation because we're stressed out of our brains.
Yeah.
And then I would say, you could try something. You could try something else.
I'll take this opportunity to brag then, because I was in a plane once with my beautiful daughter Ella when she was 1 year old, and I was actually sat next to I forgot his first name, McNamara, the tennis player who became a tennis coach.
Pat McNamara,
No, that's Pat Cash, but
yeah, I know.
Yeah, whatever. Fantastic fellow. He and I sit next to each other, and I've got Ella, and I watched his face as I walked in, like, oh my God, oh no, I've been stuck with a baby.
Yeah.
And Ella was an angel, and I looked after her, and every time she got a little bit funny, I just sort of deal with her. And anyway, so she was just an angel for the entire flight.
To her.
Yeah, well, all the way, and would be still to this very day. And anyway, at the end of the flight, we explained, had little pleasantries and so forth. End of the flight, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, thank you so much. And then we left, and I thought, brag moment. Look at that, super dad. I've done a great job, because she was an angel. Yeah, and and that was her first flight, and so it was a big.
We had a lot of kids on that plane, but there was just those two that were, and one 9-month-old baby that cried a little bit, and then mum settled her, and but it's interesting how that all.
Yeah. And that's what I would like to actually really recommend people out in the community. If they see a parent doing a good job, say it to them.
Yeah,
And
that's
say,
a good idea.
"Lord,
Really
what
good.
a wonderful
Mm.
job you're doing here. Well done."
I
Yeah.
had 6
Because
kids.
no one says it.
Yeah, no, I had 6 kids, and so like you are like it's a balancing act between love and drill sergeant,
Yes.
right? Because you've got so many people to coordinate, right?
Mm.
And when somebody would say, so I remember I took my kids out one night to a place for pizza and toys and fun and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this old lady came over and said, and she complimented my wife and I at the time and said, she goes, "You have the most beautiful children, and their
Yes.
manners are just spectacular."
Mm.
And gave us all,
That's so
and look, that's
nice.
what,
Yes.
I don't know how many years ago, 10 years ago we'll call it,
Mm.
and then probably some. And I feel so proud about that because
Mm.
I didn't realize, we were doing something so special. It's just,
Yep.
but
Yep,
it
exactly.
makes you feel good.
Mm.
Yeah, because it is
Definitely.
parenting is hard work sometimes.
It is very hard work.
The hardest job you'll ever have.
Oh, no doubt
yeah,
about it.
And it never
Mm.
stops.
Because the employees don't listen to you.
No.
Yeah.
That's
No,
right.
never.
Monique,
Yes, yeah.
what is it that you love most about what you do?
I love the parenting side of it.
Yeah.
The parenting and the attachment is my jam. I love it
Mhm.
to bits.
It's and you can hear it. You
Yeah.
can hear it when
Yeah.
you're talking.
But I do. Obviously we've talked about sleep. I do sleep. I do developmental assessments, the Purple Book appointments from 0 right through to
Okay.
2 years old, where we do the eyes and the hearing and all
Yep.
the rest of it.
Okay.
And I do behaviour consultations and parenting workshops. So tomorrow I'm actually going to be heading out to Morley for the City of Bayswater to
Right.
do a sleep workshop for their parents. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
things like that. I love to get around and
Mhm.
but just basically supporting parents.
Yeah.
No, that's
okay.
fantastic because we're well out of time.
Oh,
But-
beautiful.
But having said that, no, and I
nothing
think
to
no,
say.
I think it's a beautiful way of.
Oh,
I was going to ask you to sort of
yes.
wrap things up. I
Oh.
think you just did.
Oh,
You did such a
yes.
wonderful job. I
Oh,
think
thank
that look, parenting is the greatest job that you will ever have. It is very, very tough.
And the most important.
Most
Yes.
important, the
For-
most
for
rewarding.
society.
It is.
There is
yes,
nothing more
yeah.
important than parenting. Full stop. So I would encourage anybody who becomes mum or dad, you just go in there 120%. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to pull your hair out.
Absolutely.
sometimes
And
you're gonna
look
have-
for support.
Yeah,
And
look for
Yeah.
support.
good
Great idea.
enough
Yeah.
is good enough. We're not perfect. We can't be perfect.
Oh, I don't know. I'll give it a red hot. No.
See,
Oh,
that's
so
a really
not. So
important.
not. I'm only
That's a really important one.
It really
We
is so
cannot
true.
be
It is.
perfect
We
and
can't.
don't put such high
And
expectations
we
on
all
And we
yourself.
do. We
mistakes.
put such high expectations on
Yeah.
ourselves. So
So we'll be having all of Monique's contact details
fantastic.
at the bottom of wherever you happen to be watching
Yep.
from, whether that's a YouTube channel or Facebook or LinkedIn.
Thank you.
So you can reach out to Monique if she can be of any assistance to you.
Wonderful.
Great.
Don't miss the replay, of course. That's at 10 a.m. on Sunday. EdgeRadioAustralia.com. The audio is whack the old Edge Radio Australia in the background there. Enjoy your day. Listen to this, and away we go.
And
Have
thank
a
you,
wonderful,
Monique.
wonderful weekend.
Thank
you,
you
Monique.
for inviting me on. I've had a ball.
Awesome.
Excellent.
It's Edge Radio Australia, the one thing.